Welcome everyone to the Mercer Marsh Benefits webinar cum discussion on COVID-19 health and benefits today, tomorrow and beyond. We have around 80 participants who have already logged in, and we expect many more to join. As other participants are logging in, let me welcome each and every clients of ours who have taken time to join us today. This event is only for our clients and relationships in Mumbai. I am Sanjay Kedia, Country Head and CEO for Marsh India, and I have with me the leadership team of Health and Benefits for Mumbai and for India. I will be introducing our panel members shortly. May I request all the participants that the entire objective and the way this entire program is structured is that we want to have a discussion. So therefore I use the phrase, this is a webinar cum discussion. So we have 60 minutes. We will work towards having the leadership team present some insights, some thoughts in the first 30 minutes, and we'll aim to have the next 30 minutes a dialogue with all of you. We consciously structured this program only for one particular city, and that's what we are doing with different cities across the India, because it allows a dialogue. In this digital world, in this webinar world, we could organize easily a national level program, but it is not allowing enough deep dialogue because we have seen in some of our programs over 1,000 participants, over 1,500 participants have joined, which is good, but we believe this framework will allow a bit of a dialogue. To make this dialogue and make this program more engagement and better value for everyone, may I urge each one of you, if you have a question or a thought, a suggestion, an observation, please start typing, start sharing your thoughts on the Q&A tab, which you can see on your screen down below. So as we share our insights and thoughts, we will start building up a library of your thoughts and comments, and we will revert after the first 30 minutes. So let me first and foremost introduce the leadership team who will be sharing their thoughts today. I have over here Praval. Praval leads our health and benefits business for Mercer Marsh Benefits India. Anshul Agrawal, he leads the Mumbai and the West. We have Dr. Rajiv Agrawal, who manages at a national level some key accounts and also manages a command center and has been doing a tremendous job around the COVID, and he will be sharing some insights on the COVID statistics specifically for Marsh clients, which is a good national representation of what is happening for the corporate world employees data, which is not easily available in public domain. We have from our consulting, Tanushri and Shreya. They will be sharing their thoughts and strategies on the Pulse survey and also on the way forward as to where the market is heading. Now, I know all of us have been webinared out with so many programs happening across the country on so many issues. But as we all know, COVID-19, among all the risk class in the insurance world, has most affected the health because it is a health risk. And it has a much more direct bearing on the benefit strategy. And within the benefit strategy, we all know the medical forms the biggest component of what all the corporates are doing. Let's take a step back. The team will be, of course, taking you through a number of insights and findings which have emerged through feedback and comments from all of you. One, it is a health risk and it's a pandemic. Therefore, people are expected to stay home or not venture out unless required. They're maintaining a safe distance as much as possible. In this environment, a lot of things have been accelerated. things which were inevitable, possibly which would have happened taken 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, but they've been accelerated. A joke which I received in the WhatsApp sometime, and I keep sharing and people can all relate to that, is who brought the digital world? The CEO, the CTO, or the COVID? And we all know it's not the CEO, not the CTO, but it's the COVID which accelerated the usage of the digital in a big way. Similarly, in our health world, there are so many things which were inevitable, but they have been fast-tracked due to COVID. So that's what we are going to touch upon. One, this whole need to stay indoors or remain safe has brought in a number of things. The entire medical insurance was largely focused on hospitalization. There's a huge debate and dialogue, and we are seeing across the corporates a dialogue around what can be done outside the hospital. The OPD care is a big subject. The delivery of healthcare through digital means is a big subject. The importance of immunity we have all seen during COVID, and the importance of health and well-being has been brought to the light. The health and wellness was always important, but the importance has been felt much more now. The whole range of what we can do in the health and wellness world, which is so big, is brought to the light. We all knew mental health is important, but the stress which COVID has generated, people say more people have been affected through stress and mental health than COVID. We all know that that's true. So the stress and the mental health gets a far bigger need and attention than the underlying disease itself. So these are big themes. The hospitalization expenses have been deferred, we all are aware, and how it's affecting the benefit strategy for you for the current year and for the future year. That the team will discuss and take you through. These findings, which I am touching upon very briefly, will be presented in a more organized way in the form of a pulse survey, which was carried out by the team with you. COVID-19 statistics, what we see on television, newspapers is relevant, useful, but we will also present some COVID-19 statistics, which is relevant for the database which is concerning you, the employee database of the corporates in terms of how it is behaving. And we have a very good sample of the Marsh clients across the country, and Dr. Rajiv Gurwal will be presenting and sharing with you. And of course, there are many more thoughts and strategies which will be discussed. And more importantly, we want to hear what is in your mind. What are the thoughts you have and what are the challenges you are facing? So with this, I hand over the discussions forward to the consulting team over here, and they will take it forward. So Tanushree will start sharing you the insights and the presentation. Over to you, Tanushree.
Thank you, Sanjay. Good afternoon, everybody, and I welcome you to this webinar today. And 2020 is going to be a memorable year for all of us. We witnessed the biggest pandemic ever in our lifetime for sure. And however, I also feel that 2020 is going to be remembered for other things like resilience, adaptability, and innovations that all organizations have demonstrated in their small or little ways. So we at MMB conducted a pulse survey to understand that how organizations are looking at their overall health and benefits, policies, practices, what changes needs to be brought in, and how do we deal with the current scenario. Our endeavor was really to understand through the study that how do we optimize the budget that we have in hand. Of course, we know that everybody is dealing with things like cut down on budgets. There are no increments that's happening. There is a lot of job losses that's happening. So the idea was also to transform the benefit strategy that was planned for, and how do we take it forward hence. And overall look at the overall employee well-being, which Sanjay also spoke about. So that has been of paramount importance. And so here, I'm very happy to present some of the key findings from our study today. We had more than 152 peer organizations who participated with us in the study, and spread across 15 plus industries across Pan India. So when we start about benefits budgeting or talk about benefits budgeting, as I mentioned that, there was limited budget in hand, and all HR professionals were given the task of looking at the same budget and reallocating or optimizing the budget that was there in hand. So 76% of employers did mention that, they are looking at a change in terms of benefits budgeting approach. So that's why we calling it rewriting the code, because everything that was planned into 2019 saw a complete changeover, or rather a makeover, in 2020. So when we looked deep, did a deep dive in trying to understand that, how organizations are dealing with it, or what are the thought processes, there were two key pillars that emerged as their focus area. While there were many other arrangements that every organization did in at the outbreak and to deal with the challenges that were there at hand, however, the organizations primarily looked at the overall insured benefits portfolio. So whether it was introducing or enhancing the co-share of premium or co-pay on claims, looking at overall parental coverage in terms of, whether it should be a co-share over there as well, or looking at bringing in voluntary plans or introducing pandemic covers. So each and every organization pretty much looked at their insured benefits portfolio in holistic way to see that what changes can be brought in there that meets the requirement of this crisis that we were dealing with. The other thing that emerged as one of the key findings was interest level of every HR professional to understand, offer that diverse offering in the benefit space. We all are aware that, the number of job losses that have happened across pan India, in fact, globally, there are no increments. Most of the organizations are not even considering an increment even in 2021. However, every organization, or rather HR professionals, are bestowed with this great responsibility to attract and even retain key talent. So honestly, how do we do that? So it is, so suddenly benefits is now emerging as the hero, and hence the immense focus on offering diverse benefits offering that power of choice, making it the selling proposition for employees when you're hiring and retaining. Cost sharing overall, whether it is the insured benefits portfolio or the flexible benefits, the idea is that, sharing of responsibility between employee and employer, and also doing the cost sharing at the same time. Having said that, there were various remote working arrangements as well that organizations quickly adapted to and offered to their employees. As Sanjay mentioned, that, digital solution, whether it was communication, employee well-being, connecting with employees, everything went digital overnight. And yes, COVID made it happen. So we'll talk more about it when we look at the benefit strategies that organizations have looked at. So once the benefits budgeting was kind of optimized, where all we need to move our funds, next came that what are the various strategies that we need to put in place, because every strategy that was planned for went down the drain. So one of the key things that emerged was a connect with the leadership. So every organization did speak about CEO Connect, having regular interactions with leadership to assure employees that what is happening around, what is that the organization's thought process is, and then assuring employees that, there is light at the end of the tunnel. And I'm happy to say that, even we at Marsh India have regular connects, and that assures us as well that, we are headed the right way. Some of the innovative things that came across, if I would like to draw your attention to, is that, while we are talking about the digital solutions, of course, there is e-learning and digital support in terms of communication, remote well-being programs. But some of the innovative things that really emerged was during these times, of course, you're not sending your children anymore to the creche. So hence organizations started looking at different benefits that could then help employees focus on their work. support with nanny services, support with babysitters, other services like, home care services. I mean, the idea was that, employees should focus on their work. And so, of course, infrastructure support that every organization has been giving. So, from chair, tables, ergonomic chairs to Wi-Fi support. But innovative things were like laundry services that can be taken care of, food delivery. So these were a couple of new things that emerged as strategy and well-being initiatives conducted by organizations. Moving on, as an industry as a whole, and we as at MMP as well, we were absolutely, swift in coming up with products and addressing the demand of the market. So we saw that employers said that, we would like to see more of pandemic cover, more of additional death benefit, income protection in these trying times. And simultaneously, we saw various solutions emerging at the simultaneously. So whether it was the digital solutions that we are speaking about, or a flexible benefit solution, or infection control well-being programs, all offered through online and digital models. So when we looked at and studied this data, we also tried to understand that how does it look in terms of industries. So I would like to request you to take a moment here to see that, when we talk about various products, so say, for example, a pandemic cover or a voluntary cover or an additional death benefit. So we kind of tried to see that, in terms of industry wise, where each of the industries stand. So when we speak about pandemic cover, so if you can clearly see that BFSI is one of the highest takers for that, and they completely outshine the all industry mark as well. Remote well-being programs, again, there is no surprises there, because if you see that high tech has the access to offer a lot of things online, and hence for them to move to a complete remote well-being programs and offer digital solutions, digital well-being programs was a swift transition, if I have to say. Moving on. Last but the most important piece has always been employee well-being. And as we started, and what I would like to second what Sanjay said, that health of all our employees, their extended family, was always the priority. So, we also happened to do a pre-pandemic survey, and today what I'm sharing with you is the post-pandemic findings. And it has always been of importance to employers. But however, if I'd like to draw your attention to digital solutions, mental well-being, and EAP services, it has seen a tremendous shift in terms of, during the pre-pandemic and the post-pandemic scenario. So, so from a 17% pre-pandemic to a 81% of organizations saying that, digital solutions is the way forward. Primary and preventive care always, again, was important. And as I mentioned, that it was important for every organization. However, we do see there is a shift and importance that rolls up there as well. Along with all this goes the financial well-being part, because of all the job losses that's happening, the increment halls, it has kind of, sent a wave and a sense of fear amongst employees. So these financial well-being programs actually help employees understand that how they can channelize their income, how they can help, they get guidance in terms of savings, and in case of job losses, how they can deal with it. So it's a holistic approach in terms of well-being, just not the physical, emotional, as well as the financial well-being is what organizations are looking at. With that, I would like to invite Shreya to walk us through some overall, how does the overall employee benefit solutions look like? Over to you, Shreya.
Thanks, Tanushree. Good afternoon, everyone. So when COVID-19 actually started to spread, companies looked for solutions to mitigate the risks to its people, its business, and its operations. And what is becoming apparent in the current pandemic environment is that the employee well-being, as Tanushree's mentioned, it has become a much higher priority on the risk management agenda. it is no more a risk of the HR function alone, but has become an enterprise level risk. We believe it is essential to understand and address people risks if the physical, emotional, and financial health of its workforce is being compromised. And hence, employee benefit solutions can play a critical role as a part of its overall risk management strategy. So coming to how COVID-19 pandemic has impacted healthcare in India. According to a research, as of May, we've seen more than 5 lakh elective surgeries have been delayed in India. Now, what does this suggest? This means that, care avoidance would lead to worsening of conditions. It would lead to poorer health outcomes in the long term. Now, due to such delay in surgeries, we have witnessed a drop in the incurred claims ratio in the current year. However, the drastic decline that we saw in the April to June period, that is the lockdown period, has shown a gradual reversing trend since July 2020. So we are seeing an increasing hospitalization claims footfall since the opening of the lockdown phase. Moreover, this decline is more like deferred claims, as Sanjay mentioned in the start of the call. These are deferred claims which will naturally hit the policy in the upcoming renewals in the next policy year, and hence must be budgeted in the renewal pricing. Coming to the medical inflation, so in a pre-COVID scenario, according to the MMB Around the World Trend Report, the projected medical inflation for 2020 stood at 9.6%. But in a post-COVID scenario, we've seen that the medical inflation has risen to 13.2%. And this is due to a couple of reasons. One being that the COVID test is made mandatory for not just COVID hospitalization, but also the non-COVID hospitalizations. The cost of PPE kits and the other protective equipments is also being added to the claim cost. And also the cost that, the hospitals had to incur in terms of revamping the infrastructure to be compliant with the COVID hospitalizations has added to the claims impact. Now that we've spoken about the physical well-being, small facts and figures on mental health impact. We've seen since the lockdown that about 19 million salaried jobs have been lost and a 70% increase in the mental health counseling sessions. And these figures are only going to increase. Keeping all these statistics in mind, COVID-19 situation definitely demands a new way of seeing things. While the organizations must consider reviewing their core benefits, which would typically mean their family sum insured limits, so that to ensure readiness of multiple family members requiring health insurance support. It would also mean to review your room rent limits, your copay limits, because this is all leading to a higher out-of-pocket expenses and forming a large part of the disallowance amount. Due to these out-of-pocket expenses and the fact that everyone's staying home indoors, a higher reliance on outpatient care has come up in the current times. Only due to the fact that, we want to reduce the unwanted hospital admissions, and we're looking at more of clinical consultations and diagnostics for the coverage perspective. From a work from home scenario also, we are witnessing a shift towards home care and also a shift in taking care of not just employees, but also their dependents. And we'll definitely see more on how digital healthcare has become a norm in the current times. Before we move on, can we do a quick poll question? Niladri, can you put that up? So what are the main challenges with your employee health and benefit strategy over the next 6 to 12 months? Cash flow protection, enhancing scope of coverage, providing flexibility and access to healthcare, simplifying benefits administration processes, reviewing current benefit structure. We can end the poll, I think. So we've seen quite a varied response with cash flow protection being 25%, enhancing scope of coverage being 25%, flexibility in healthcare at 22%, and simplifying benefits administration at 19%. So we should definitely consider all of these in our upcoming benefit strategy as a part of a benefit strategy. And depending on your short-term to your long-term objectives of the client, of the company, we must tackle these challenges and concerns by curating and customizing various benefit strategy relevant to the business. So while some of the approaches would, as rightly mentioned in enhancing scope of coverage, like we mentioned about reviewing your current sum insured limits and reviewing the core benefits, it has become important that, we revisit our company funded plans. And Tanushree also mentioned earlier that, we must look at the company funded plans when it comes to the parental plans. We must look at the co-share of premium and co-pay on claims, and also introduction of voluntary covers. So some of it would definitely include, program redesigning, program rationalization of your current benefit program. So these are some of the strategies that we can look at when we're looking at our renewal of our employee benefit program. Some of the positives on the overall healthcare piece is that, the importance of quality healthcare has risen multifold since the outbreak. We are also seeing the Make in India movement for manufacturing of medical equipments, and the fact that every Indian will get a new digital health ID card, which will have the individual's medical records. On this note, let me invite Dr. Rajiv to give a perspective on COVID figures and the products and solutions that MMB has curated to support employees and its families. Over to you, Dr. Rajiv.
Thank you, Shreya. It was quite insightful, and I am glad that I get this opportunity to present COVID statistics in India vis-a-vis the Marsh experience with their clients. So these are the numbers which are updated as of today morning. And we are 32 lakhs plus cases which have already been reported in India. And so the good point, on this is that 75% is the recovery rate, which by far is the best in the globe. I think that is traditionally because we have a very high immunity historically in Indians, and that is adding on. Plus, I think we also have an immunization program well in place. And that all things have added on to our immunity, to our immunization programs, that we see that recovery rate is pretty higher today, and that has become a severe. On the death mortality rate, currently we see India again is at the lowest 1.8%. So these are some of the figures which probably you all already know about it. But how does that relate to Marsh clients? As Sanjay mentioned, that we have a command center where we review claims on daily basis, live basis. We track all the claims, and starting from Feb end till date, as we speak, we have over 6,000 claims which have been reported, and the recovery rate, fortunately, again is better than the national average, which is 81%. And in fact, our death mortality rate is also better. It's only 1.4%, and largely we have seen fatalities happening in the higher age, wherein there were immunity system was compromised and some comorbidities were there. So this has been the broad structure. And again, a second silver lining, what we have seen, which is a very, very positive outcome, is that 79% of the claims that have been reported, they are falling into mild and a moderate category. I think again, that's how we see that a lot of people today, they do not actually need to go for hospitalizations, and largely if you come out to be tested as positive, you can be home isolated, refrain yourself from, transmitting the disease to your near ones. I think that is a simple precautions, which we normally take as and when viral or any influenza like illnesses strike. I think the same thing applies for COVID also. So that is a very, very positive news. And the numbers, what we see, primarily, if we, this number probably is a direct function to the number of tests what we are conducting per day on the national level. In case, and there is a very, very strong initiative what Government of India today is taking to increase the number of tests on daily basis. And but whatever the statistics, whatever the epidemiological studies are reflecting is, this number should be around 25 to 30% more. As what we are seeing here today. This also reflects one of the key phenomenon here is that since it is just like influenza-like illnesses, and majority of the people are falling into very, very mild and a mild category, and maybe is asymptomatic also. So this probably 50% of our population who are present in this forum, who knows that we are COVID positive and we may have even recovered. And that is where we have seen the serosurveillance results which has come from various major cities like Delhi. We have seen almost about 29% of people are already positive, they have antibodies, and there was sample, almost 15,000 samples were tested for antibodies, and of which 29% is already people, they have antibodies. That means they have already recovered. They have enough immunity, their system is enough geared up, to fight and break the transmission. Mumbai specifically, I think Mumbai is a big example wherein we all know when this COVID illness struck in Dharavi, so there was a big noise around, and we were all a little bit more panicked that how, this will take shape. But today, 57% of the population in slums in Dharavi, they already have, antibodies, which also is a very, very positive signs. And from a slum area specifically to Dharavi, we could very safely say we are nearing to a herd immunity kind of structuring, which is normally called about. Pune, again, we have seen that almost about 50% plus, in whatever samples have been collected, they are seropositive. So these are some of the positive things what I would like to highlight here. Shreya, can we move to next, please? So this is a comparison of 5-day moving average between worldwide and India. Though we see that number of cases again, they are rising, and still there is not a decline what we are seeing as an overall picture. But again, as I have mentioned earlier, the good point is that our death mortality rate is much lower than what is happening in the world, 1.8% as against 3.5% across other countries. I think this would give you a better insight on some of the large locations, some of the cities. Mumbai. So this is a 5-day moving average, how the cases are reflecting, and you see, yes, there is a decline on per day cases which are getting reported. So which is a very good sign. Pune, yes, Pune has been, we have seen from last one and a half month, the cases have been on rise, and that was one of the reasons that we saw that lockdown, a complete lockdown was announced by the local government. But there is a ray of hope. We see some kind of decline happening. But on the active cases, we see Pune is higher than Thane on the current active cases as we are speaking today. Bangalore, again, Karnataka was the last one in the row wherein, which took a spike in COVID cases, and eventually we see the Karnataka as a whole, the COVID cases are on rise, but eventually from last 5 days, we have seen some decline happening there. Hyderabad, Chennai, and Delhi, I think all these three major cities are on declining trend, which is again a positive sign. And Delhi is a very, very fine example, the way, the state health ministry and the government and the public health, all came together, and they have actually controlled a lot of things. And otherwise, Delhi was something going into a different stage about 1.5 months before. Shreya, please. So I think before I move on to this, I think one important, a message what I would like to give on the COVID statistics is, and I was going through a research paper of a very, very senior, epidemiologist and ex-principal of CMC Vellore, wherein he has suggested, and a lot of studies are going around it, can we look at a strategy of exposing the young and save the old? I think that is one of the strategies what you will see that which is coming along, because as younger population we have better immunities, the recovery rates are much better, and we have seen that elderly are losing lives. So that also can be one of the ways of breaking this transmission and seeing a new light, wherein and that's where we see that there is a lot of dialogue going around on opening of institutes, going ahead with opening up of the examinations like NEET and all this stuff. So that is the basic strategy is, can we look at a scenario of exposing young people, and thereby we can break the transmission, and as a result of that we are able to save the older ones. So on MMD support, as we have seen that digital solutions have had an exponential growth in pre-COVID as well as a post-COVID scenarios. We have been engaging, MMB always had solutions around digital healthcare, and that is a personal experience within the organization. What we have seen, that our utilization was less than 5%, and that is how the entire telemedicine industry is being built on, the pricings and everything are built on. But the moment what we are seeing that from March onwards, the utilization is gone as high as 500%. So there has been a 500%, over 500% growth in various platforms, and globally the trends are the growth rate of about 200% has been experienced on digital healthcare space. Practo is one of the partners where we partnered, and we have seen these trends coming up, and that is also resonating with the top priorities today we have seen coming in from the employers, where the priority of digital healthcare has actually grown from 16% to 77-80%, which is also resonating on the shift of the behavioral aspect of employees. Normally as Indians, we always have a comfort of sitting in front of the doctor, meeting him in person and taking an advice. But what COVID has done today is we are far more relying on digital healthcare space. We are comfortable talking to a doctor online, and with the accessibility telemedicine provides 24/7 video consultation. I can actually get onto a video with a doctor with whatever specialty I want, and I can discuss about my problems, and within 5 minutes or 10 minutes of consult, prescription comes on my laptop or on my mobile device. I think it's amazing to see such kind of thing, and COVID overall has supported, and we have today all the solutions available. COVID helpline is one of the solutions what we innovated starting March, and we see that almost 350 plus clients are onboarded on this, and we have tried to stitch a program which I'll cover in the next slide, wherein today we see that 5,500 plus unique users are using the platform, and in last 4 months, over 40,000 consultations have been already availed. So that is a change in the shift, in the behavioral shift, what we have seen, what COVID has brought onto us. Shreya? So insurance policies, I think this is something Indian insurance has reacted very, very positively to the entire COVID scenario. And I still remember 4th of March was the first circular which came in from the regulator, which clearly stated that COVID is not an exclusion in the policies. I think that was a big step what Indian insurance industry has taken. And over a period of last 4 months, we have seen continuous interventions coming in, from the insurance industry, wherein the entire industry, the effort had been to support the employees, to support the insured, to ensure that whatever associated problems evolve during the COVID are being taken care of. Because we do not have any prior experience of COVID. We did not know that home isolation is one of the solutions which will be required. We did not know that testing can become so big. We did not know that, so a lot of things. We also did not know that hospitals will come up with home isolation products. So we have evolved in last 4 months, and the positive news that insurance companies have reacted positively, and very often they have come up with these programs. So pandemic cover, I think that is one of the very, very innovative cover, which also not only addresses the current problem of COVID today, but also will take care of any kind of pandemic which may strike up, which may any other coronavirus may come, who knows, maybe in coming years. So I think people are, insurance companies are far more acceptance is there to give a pandemic cover. Home and hotel quarantine, I think this is again one of the space where this has evolved as a solution, and today insurance companies are giving underwriting these risks. Corona Kavach, we all know, it has been a very, very innovative step which has taken by the regulator, and the first time in the history of industry we have seen regulator designing a product. Otherwise, the product design normally comes by the insurance company. This is the first time, the regulator devised a product and gave instructions to the insurance companies, and insurance companies were quick in replicating and releasing the products. Then pandemic buffer, top-up policies, income protection plans, volunteer. I think these are all the benefits which are today available and which are also required. As some time ago, Tanushree mentioned that the survey responses also resonated to all these benefits, that employers are looking at all these benefits. And the good news is that we have solutions around it, and the insurance companies are supporting with all these covers. Apart from this insurance, there are certain value-added services. We have already spoken about COVID helpline and telemedicine. COVID testing, I think that has been a very, very important initiative. Since to a population of 1.3 billion, we only have 1,500 laboratories which test. Now it becomes a very, very challenging environment for an employee, for an individual to identify that in case I am a suspect COVID or I have some kind of symptoms, where to go, which is a designated lab. So we have a program within our health. We have been able to facilitate home collection of samples in maximum 24 hours to 30 seconds. Hospital assistance, again, we have seen that hospital assistance means availability of the bed. So because there was a time about 15 days, 1 month before, when we could see that there was a lot of hue and cry across all geographies that bed is not available. Fortunately, we all are better prepared today as we speak. We are better aware that not all the cases actually require hospitalizations. There is a slight ease in the ecosystem of the hospitals. But having said that, MMB came out with the solutions today. We have a centralized WhatsApp group with all leading TPA partners, jointly representing that WhatsApp group. So whenever we see that there is a availability, there is a scarcity of the bed, or there is a need which comes in from the employee, from our client, and the servicing TPA for some reason is not able to support that, through our accounts manager, that request goes on to this WhatsApp group. And till date, we have been able to support all our employees within maximum 2 to 4 hours within all the geographies. So that has been the support system which we have been able to generate. EAP and ambulance services, ambulance again, I think in my over last 2 decades of career, never I think ambulance has been in that requirement. Today we see that ambulances are in requirements. The cost of ambulances have gone haywire. The availability of ambulances are not there, and there have been a lot of rigmarole around it. We have a solution around it wherein we can give you an ambulance service within 40 to 50 minutes of time, whether it is COVID or non-COVID. So we have already tried to stitch all these available solutions which can ensure that the employees can be at ease. We can support them holistically whenever there is a need, and also counsel them that if you are positive, no need to worry. Not all COVID positive cases actually require hospitalizations. 80%, I would like to reiterate before closing, that 80% of the COVID positive cases actually do not require hospitalizations. That is a message, we should give it to all our employees, all our people, that nothing to worry, no need to panic. There is a support system available. There is a doctor which is available who you can, speak to the doctor within less than 5 minutes, and he can handhold you to the entire process. Last but not the least is a workplace safety, as we see that unlocking is happening up. So we have, people, our colleagues from MRC, Kaustubh and Nitin are there, you can put up your questions regarding what are the measures you can take in case you are planning to open up your offices, in case you are planning that your employees should resume. So what are the safety measures we can help you with and we can support you with? This is all from my side. Thank you so much, and I'll give the baton to Praval to conclude.
Thank you, Dr. Rajiv. Thank you everyone for joining this webinar today. It's been our privilege to host all of you. And as we close the session, I'd like to quickly bring to your attention that yes, we are a 9,000 strong team globally at Mercer Much Benefits who are there to support you in your journey in the new normal. Over 100 clinicians are there, including in India, we have a team of around 10 doctors, medical professionals. Dr. Rajiv is one of them, and we have many other experts internally who are available to you for any kind of support that you need to manage the new normal. I think in India, already many of you would be aware that yes, we are working with our clients to leverage on our global insights, global knowledge, and our placement strength to ensure that you get the right kind of solutions. In trying times like this, in unprecedented times like this, you always need a partner who's financially very strong, who's very stable in terms of the outlook, in terms of being able to support you with this global presence and with this strong India presence. We at MMB are committed to stay invested with you in this journey ahead as we open up our offices and we unlock the country. I think with this, I'd like to only say that there's nothing more critical to the health of a business than the health of its people. I think that's the bottom line. And with that, I'd like to close today's session and invite Q&A. We have a couple of questions already in the Q&A tab there. So I'll take up some of that first as we start. And then from there, we'll move ahead to cover some of the other questions. I think one of the first questions that we had was from Mohit Sharma. Mohit asked, any insight into benefit options for blue-collar workers, such as driver partners, delivery partners, best practices and programs? I'll invite Anshul to answer this question live here.
Hello, everyone. So thank you, Mohit, for asking this question. So I would say there are a range of products which are available for blue-collar workers, right? One of the things which Dr. Rajiv has spoken about, that is COVID-specific programs, because that comes with a range of sum insured as low as 50,000 rupees goes up to 5 lakh rupees. This would typically help you in covering expenses which are not typically paid in the GMC policy. Things like cost of testing, cost of disposals, home quarantine, home care cost, which is involved, typically that's not paid under the normal GMC policy. One more point I would like to mention out here would be about group term life policy. So some companies do offer group term life policy to blue collar employees as well as white collar employees. And in these times, we have generally seen that the focus area has been across the companies, and we saw that in Pulse survey as well, that companies are looking for enhancing the sum insured under the group term life, right? Now in your company or for other participants, if we have not taken the policy for the blue collar employees, this is one of the focus area which increasingly we are seeing. So yeah, so one is the COVID specific policies which you can definitely look at, and we can support you in that endeavor. And second would be life insurance cover, which becomes even more important in these times.
Thank you, Anshul. We have a very interesting question from Hina Rohtagi. Hina is asking, what does alternate to paid time off means? And that was part of our presentation out there, which Tanushree was presenting in the earlier section. So Tanushree, you'd like to answer Hina's question again for the entire audience to hear once?
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Praval. Hi, Hina. So yes, like I mentioned on your question, so during these times, we all would have witnessed that, employees are not availing time off, which is availing the paid leaves or the casual leaves that is offered by organizations. So hence, primarily organizations are promoting or requesting employees to take time off, because that work-life balance is very important, because that fundamental line between office time and your home time doesn't exist anymore. And hence, organizations primarily are insisting that people should take time off. However, given the absolute low utilization of these numbers, some of the organizations are giving an option to employees to trade off these leaves, which are paid leaves, and they can look at other alternatives. Now, in this also, there are two segments of organizations. So one segment is where organizations who are already currently on a flexible benefits model. So those organizations are saying that you can trade off your paid leave, say up to a 2 or a 3, or they have defined a cap, and you can utilize that in order, you can utilize, trade that off and buy other insurance products or other non-insured benefits which are more relevant to you. However, there is another segment of organizations who are not really on flexible benefits. However, they also offer this option to their employees. And they're saying that, very recently we had this entire drive of making contributions towards PM Care Fund. So they have allowed employees to trade off their leaves, and that amount can then be extended towards PM Care Fund or any other voluntary contributions that employees would like to contribute towards, which also invites tax exemption given that you're making a donation. So Hina, I hope that answers your question.
We have a couple of very interesting questions around to what extent Corona covers. I think this is, I presume Avendra, when he's asking this question, Avendra Singh, he's asking this question about the term of the covers product. So the covers product comes in 3 variants, 3.5 months, 6.5, and 9.5 months. Yes, we do take your feedback here that, is it justified to offer only 3 options? Why not long term? I believe the regulator has actually structured this product with a belief that we should be able to see the end of the light, end of this entire Corona episode in 9.5 months on the outside. Having said this, they have left it to the customer to decide what is the right timeline, whether it's 3.5, 6.5, or 9.5. Only one thing here I'd like to call out. You can also take Corona covers product on a group platform. The product that the regulator has designed actually is for retail customers, offering these timelines of 3.5, 6.5, and 9.5 months. If, however, at the corporate level, you'd like to take the same policy, you can take it as a 1-year policy, and we can customize the product also by waiving off a lot of these waiting periods, and a lot of other terms and conditions out there can be relaxed. So I hope that answers your questions.
Quickly, I just would like to add one more point with respect to Corona Kavach policy is that you can take this policy on selection basis as well. Yes. Because normally when you talk about group policy and when COVID specific policy has come into existence, the majority of companies have said that it has to be bought on a mandatory basis only. With Corona Kavach policy being structured by the regulator itself, and the liberty and the flexibility given to the insurance company to alter the terms and condition, most of the insurance companies are offering this on a selection basis. So companies can look at covering employees who are more exposed, who are high on risk, right? I mean, you can begin your taking policy for a specific group of people, and then maybe like if required can extend to other employees as well.
Thank you, Ashwin. We have one question as well as a suggestion from Amit Ladha, and his view is that, can we not look at processing claims digitally? Dr. Rajiv, you'd like to comment on that?
Praval, you will have to repeat the question, please. Sorry.
Okay, so Amit's suggestion is that we are seeing that sometimes hospitals are denying cashless, and therefore it is difficult to wait for admission to the network hospitals. Your reaction to it, and secondly, he's requesting if the insurance companies can also look at digitally processing the claims. So both in terms of how do we handle the denial of cashless by a network hospital, and secondly, how do we look at digitalization of the claim processing?
Yeah, so I think, yes, this has evolved as one of the problems where, because COVID has also resulted in a lot of cash crunch with the hospital industry, and wherein on a non-COVID cases, hospitals have been running at less than 30% occupancy. So that is how the COVID has also affected, and that it has been a root cause wherein, some of the hospitals in some of the geographies that started denying cashless. But again, the, insurance companies have intervened today. And as we speak, I think barring Hyderabad specifically, we don't see this challenge coming in from other geographies. And still there is a lot of dialogue which is coming in from some of the large hospitals in Hyderabad, and for sure, we'll be able to address it. So I don't think that this will become a perennial problem. So there is a solution on, as and when basis we will be addressing it, and jointly we will be able to take it. On the second point on the digital settlement, I think the regulator doesn't ask for the physical copies, that is a clear directive, but then that is how the industry has been over the years, where physical documents are required. But I think COVID has brought in a lot of changes the way we are operating in various sections, as we have seen in last 40-45 minutes and in last 4 months. I'm sure insurance companies are very seriously thinking that whether there is a need of taking the physical documentation or not, or can we continue settling the claims like we have done during the COVID period by digital submissions and settlements up to the payments. So I think we could see this as a change coming in as a result of COVID in coming times. But as of now, claims are getting settled digitally, but there is a requirement post facto to submit the bills, as and when courier services gets activated on various geographies. So that's how we will have to see it.
But I would just like to add one more thing out here is that some of the private companies, the progressive ones, they have actually already started doing the processing on a digitalized basis. Obviously, they have some cappings on the claims value, right? They are not settling high value claims only on the basis of scanned copies. But this is a trend which is definitely going to come up in India as well, like we see in Western countries.
Thank you so much. Vishal Gautam has a query out there. He wants to know more about the income protection plan that's available at the group level. Vishal, the income protection plan that's available typically in the marketplace as of today covers loss of income in case of certain critical illness. So yes, there are plans which are available for loss of income because of critical illness or because of prolonged hospitalization on account of sickness. But some of these plans are right now not going to indemnify for a very long period. So there are certain limitations in those products where the reimbursement can be, let's say, for 6 months to at best 1 year. These are not long-term, disability products, unlike in the global ecosystem where some of these long-term disability products are also available. We are in advanced dialogue with a lot of insurers around, how to structure also long-term products around this. Yeah? But there are some of these products available. You can reach out to your Mars account manager and we'll certainly be able to help you with income protection plans on a full-fledged basis. There are a lot of questions around deductions arising out of PPE kits. Yes, we do understand that this can be area of concern, that there is a reduction when the number of PPE kits used is higher or the per PPE cost is higher. I think this is a valid view. We are discussing with insurers as well as other stakeholders to see if we can make the process more seamless and if we can reimburse the entire cost. Having said this, there are certain guidelines the regulator also has imposed, the government authorities has imposed in terms of number of PPE kits to be used per day, the amount that should be reimbursed per PPE kit. So hopefully things would get more liberal out there, but as of today there are certain limitations. All of us have to live with. We can have an alternate suggestion out there. Yes, it is possible to structure a discretionary buffer. So at the time of your renewal, we can actually structure a discretionary buffer to allow some of these non-payable items to be claimed. But that has to be specifically structured in your policy and it doesn't come automatically. We have a question from Subhan about the nanny care services for child support. Would you like to articulate a bit about this, Tanushree, again?
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Praveen. So, Shubham, in the current scenario, sometime back, there was a government mandate, if you remember, that, every organization needs to have a creche service that has to be offered to all their employees. And it had very clear-cut guidelines in terms of, how far the creche has to be located and who all will be eligible, what is the minimum employee strength that was required for every organization to implement this. So while most of the organizations were still trying to adhere to this mandate, that is when we got hit by coronavirus. And in lieu of the creche services, what organizations started doing is that, so there was this dedicated budget that was already allocated towards creche services. They optimized this and reallocated that and started offering it to organizations or employees who had children till the age of 4. And they said that, you can go ahead and avail nanny services from any vendor partners of your choice. You can get that service and you can submit the bill for a reimbursement. It works on a reimbursement model. And what you can do is that you can source a nanny from any of the vendors which are available in the market and claim that amount, and that varies from organization to organization. So in terms of amount, we can say that it ranges somewhere between 7,000 to 10,000 per month. I hope that answers your query.
Thanks, Tanushree. We have one question from Jignesh Desai. His question, Anshul, this is for you. Is home isolation covered? So is home care therefore covered in a standard group Mediclaim policy? If not, what are the options available?
So traditionally, policy which has been running, that does not typically covers home isolation, right? But as we go along, and we are seeing that is becoming an increasing trend, and Dr. Rajiv has also mentioned about 80% of cases does not require hospitalization, and therefore it requires home isolation and home care, right? That is something now getting inbuilt in the policy. Obviously, we need to check with our insurance company, and we can support you in that endeavor. Wherever we would like to cover home care in our existing policy, we can make an attempt doing that. Having said so, there are policies which are available, which are outside our GMC policy, wherein this home care isolation and home quarantine expenses that can be covered. I hope that answers your query.
Thank you, Anshul. So we don't have more open questions here. I'd like to open the lines and invite anyone who'd like to, anyone who has any more questions, we can open the line and invite you to ask the question live. You can raise your hand, and then my colleague Niladri will open your line and you can go live, and we'll answer the questions live.
We have unmuted Seema Raut, so if she can unmute herself and ask me questions.
Yes, yes, Seema.
Right now, I do not have any questions.
Okay, thanks, Seema.
Thank you. Yeah.
Any other questions from the audience here, from the participants? We'll be happy to take a couple of more questions before we end the session. We are at 60 minutes. At 5 o'clock, we have completed our 60-minute session. If there is one or two more questions, we can take it out. Great. I think we don't have any more questions on the line, and I'll just check the Q&A tab to see if there is any more open question. There's nothing. So thank you everyone for joining us today afternoon for this very engaging discussion on health and benefit strategy for COVID-19 today, tomorrow, and beyond. We look forward to being continuously engaged with you. And I'd like to close this with a note that when Dr. Rajiv presented the statistics about COVID-19 and how it has evolved, especially in our city, Mumbai, it does reassure me to see that, yes, the numbers are on the decline. So let's stay safe and wish you all good health. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Thanks.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.